Now, we should talk about, again, there's a gun ban just announced today, this morning. And this will, again, cost billions of dollars because these are guns that are moving from unrestricted now to prohibited, which means the feds don't even know how many of them there are. But they can definitely put a pin on how much it's going to cost. Sure thing, guys. Sure thing. Let's show a clip from this.
In 2022-23, our government passed legislation to freeze the market for handguns in Canada, banning the sale, transfer, and importation of handguns into the country. Just recently, in December 2024, we went further, banning some of the additional assault-style weapons that remained in the Canadian market. Today, our government is finishing the job, adding a further 179 unique makes and models of assault-style weapons to the list of prohibited firearms here in Canada. This prohibition takes effect immediately. It is our hope, our government's intention, that this be the last discrete listing of assault-style firearms for prohibition. If we finish the job well, we have all the tools necessary to ensure that new models of assault-style weapons will be captured and denied legal entry into the Canadian market. Let's be clear, these are weapons of war, firearms designed specifically to kill as many people as possible in the least amount of time possible. As with previous prohibitions, the weapons we are banning today are semi-automatic firearms with sustained rapid-fire capability. Experts have told us that they exceed safe civilian use.
Sheila, I'm going to say two things, and then I want you to weigh in because you forgot.
What experts?
Yeah, you anyway. Forgot more about firearms than I'm ever going to learn. But here's where two things. One is a question to you, Sheila, which is simply, please, for the love of God, can you define what an assault-style weapon is? And I'll tell you what the real assault is, because remember, the Liberals are putting on the Captain Canuck costume and saying, we're protecting Canadian businesses and Canadian workers against bad orange man. What about all the gun shops and all the employees in Canada that work in those gun shops that are going to be driven out of business if these bastard Liberals get their way with these guns? They are going to have it so that you can't sell any gun. And if you say, oh, but wait a minute, the farmers need guns to get rid of varmints. No. They don't care about the farmers. This is all ideological BS as far as I can see, Sheila. And again, more hypocrisy when it comes to saving Canadian businesses and Canadian jobs.
On the last business day before Trudeau was gone.
On a Friday.
On a Friday, last business day. And I'm going to refer people over to Tracy Wilson's X account. Tracy Wilson is with the CCFR. And she notes that Rachel Bendayan, that's the lady you saw talking there, she is, I think, the Deputy Minister of Public Safety and an anti-gun lunatic. And when Trudeau did a cabinet shuffle and shuffled her into that position, I knew a gun ban was coming. I said it at the time. She used American data in her press conference today, and she says there's a list of 179 guns, and those owners are immediately criminalized, but she won't tell us which ones they are. So they're so dangerous that they need to get them off the street, and that the owners of them are now immediately criminalized, but we don't know which ones they are.
Yeah, because, Sheila, it's the duck hunters in Saskatchewan that are the real problem. Not, the gangbangers in Canadian inner cities who have multiple convictions, who can get out on bail, even if the charge is as high as attempted murder. Because, the Liberals subscribe to a hug a thug philosophy. That's the problem. The criminals with completely illegal guns running around that get all these second, third, fourth, fifth chances. Meanwhile, law-abiding, legal, tax-paying Canadians bear the brunt of these ridiculous bans. And Sheila, I'm serious. 179 guns? I mean, are there that many guns left to ban, for goodness sakes? I mean, where does this end?
That's a good point. These are being added on top of the already 3,800 prohibited models, again, by the stroke of a pen. Not a single one of these, by the way, has been confiscated. So over the course of, now we're approaching and they won't be.
Yeah.
These firearms owners are covered by a limited amnesty until October. None of these guns, 5 years, nearly 5 years, they've been in the hands of Canadian firearms owners. They were so dangerous, the government needed to prohibit them immediately, but then also extend an amnesty and not take any of them away, because it's not making any effect on crime. We should also note that they have, this is kind of funny because it shows how stupid these people are. The Liberals excluded the SKS from today's bans. Now, they have floated the Soviet 1940s era SKS would be in the bans over and over and over again. Now, I know why they didn't put it in there. Because it's, yes, exactly. Yeah. That's what they're claiming. But there's also another reason. But yes, apparently I could use an SKS to kill somebody so that now I can't have my SKS. That would have been the logic. But if you were Indigenous, your SKS bullet would magically bounce off somebody. Okay, sure thing. But anyways, let's talk about the SKS in a second here. But let's see the Liberals' race-based reason why.
In the past, we've seen some firearm models that were designed for military use be later marketed for hunting and civilian use. The SKS, for example, was a firearm designed by the USSR for use in the Second World War. When the war was over, the surplus, of which there was a considerable volume, was dumped at a low price into the Canadian civilian market and marketed for hunting. Tackling complex issues like this one, where Russian firearms designed for one use are then marketed for hunting in Canada. It requires a thoughtful and comprehensive approach to how we classify firearms in this country. I think the classification review, which I've announced today, will address that in particular. The SKS, of course, is a gun that, as I mentioned, has been used for hunting in Canada, particularly by Indigenous peoples. And in our discussions with Indigenous communities, it was made clear that they are used for sustenance hunting, which is a right that we must respect.
Oh, so Sheila, she proved you right in her own words. This is a race-based gun ban.
Yeah, and I just dropped I just dropped an image of the SKS for non-gun owners to have a look at into the chat there, Olivia. These are like your great-grandpa's firearms. They were developed in the 1940s for World War II. They are cheap. They're most people's first gun show purchase because they're cheap, they're customizable, they're cheap to shoot. And here's the thing why I don't think they banned them, and it's besides the race-based ridiculous reason that the deputy gun grabber in the country just gave. It's because they have no clue how many of these there are in the country. They don't know. So if they include the SKS into this, their estimates for how much this is going to cost will balloon. And then how do you make the case for, our gun grab was going to cost a couple $1 billion to, it might cost $5 or $6 billion. And we're going to go door to door and kick in the door of every gun owner in this country because most people have an SKS in their gun safe. So they can't touch this one. And of all the things, it's actually made for war. Like they say the AR is a weapon of war. No, this one might actually be a weapon of war, just World War II.
Oh, and Sheila, when you say going door to door and kicking those doors in, do you think the RCMP is going to go on to an Indigenous reserve and do that? Absolutely no chance in hell. And that's where a lot of, by the minister's own remarks, that's where a lot of these guns are being used.
Yeah, they're being used by a lot of people. I mean, I would guess there are just as many non-Indigenous people who enjoy their SKS as those who are Indigenous. And I don't think the RCMP would go door to door anyway. That's crazy.
Yep.
And I believe the RCMP have better things to do. And most of our friends in the RCMP are gun owners themselves and advocates for firearms rights. And provinces like Saskatchewan and Alberta have said, no, our cops are busy. We're not directing our cops.
Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com.